The hero who came back as both. On Christ and Antichrist as the same God. The village had killed the hero long ago for reasons it had since forgotten. He had been their best. He had been the one who came when they had been hungry. He had been the one who had stood in the road when the soldiers had come. He had been, by anyone's account, the kind of figure villages produce only once in a long while, and that they cannot, finally, bear to keep. So they had killed him. They had killed him because he had loved them too plainly. They had killed him because his loving had been embarrassing. They had killed him because, when he had named what was wrong in the village, he had named what each of them had been hiding. They had killed him because, in his presence, they had been visible to themselves. They had not, in those years, been able to bear the visibility. They had killed him, in the 3rd year after his arrival, by general agreement. The killing had been done quietly. There had been no trial. They had taken him out to the edge of the village in the night, in early autumn, and they had buried him there in a shallow grave, and they had gone home and not spoken of it. That had been 33 years ago. The village in those 33 years had been quieter. It had been less honest. It had been less alive in some way the villagers did not name. The marriages had held, but only just. The children had grown up cautious. The crops had been adequate. The village had survived. In the 33rd autumn, on the morning of the same date he had been killed, the hero came back. He walked into the village from the south, on the same road he had originally come on. He was older, he was thinner, he was very strange to look at. He wore 1 boot of gold and 1 boot of iron. His right hand was open in blessing. His left hand held a long, thin knife. He came up the road into the village square, and he sat down at the well, and he waited. The villagers, who had recognized him from a great distance, did not at first come out. They stayed in their houses. They watched him through their windows. They were old now, the ones who had killed him. They had grown old in the knowledge of what they had done. They had told themselves in those 33 years that he had not, in fact, been who they had feared he was. They had told themselves sometimes that they had been right to do it. He sat at the well for a long time. Eventually, the elder, who was by now a very old man and who had been one of the men in the night with the shovel, walked out of his house and came to the well. "You are dead," said the elder. "Yes," said the hero. "How is it that you have come back?" "I went down into the ground," said the hero. "I went down on the night you put me in. I went down for 33 years. I have come back." "What were you in the ground?" The hero considered. "I was both," he said. "Both what?" "Both the one you killed and the one you killed me for being." They were not in the ground separate. They had been separate above ground because the village had needed them to be separate. The village had needed me to be the good one so that it could be the bad one in secret. The village had needed me to bless so that the killing could happen elsewhere in the dark. I cooperated in life with this arrangement. I had not known there was another way to be a hero. I had been told there were 2 kinds, the one who blesses and the one who cuts, and that the hero was the first kind. I had tried in life to be only the first kind. The village had loved me for it. The village had also in the end killed me for it, because the cutting was in the village being done by everyone except me, and it had grown tiresome, and someone had to be killed for the village to keep pretending. I was the available one. You put me in the ground. The elder did not speak. "In the ground," said the hero, "I learned that the 2 were one. The hand that blesses and the hand that cuts are the same hand, on the same person, of the same God. The God you waited for in your prayers was the God who blesses. The God you encountered in your wars and your private cruelties was the God who cuts. You called the first one good. You called the second one evil. You spent 33 centuries trying to find ways to have only the first. There is no first without the second. They are the same God. I have come back to tell you this. I am wearing 1 boot of gold and 1 boot of iron because the road I walk on is made of both. I cannot, after 33 years in the ground, pretend the road is only gold. I have not come back to bless you. I have not come back to cut you. I have come back only to tell you what I learned." He stood up. "I will sit at the well until the evening," he said. "Any of you may come. You may bring me a blessing if you wish. You may bring me a knife. I will accept either. I have, in the ground, become the kind of figure that can receive either, without preference. You should know this about me before you decide what to do." The village did not that day decide. Some of them came to the well in the afternoon, weeping, and asked for his blessing. He blessed them with his right hand. Some of them came in the evening with their grievances of 33 years and demanded that he account for himself. He let them speak. He did not in his accounting defend himself. He did not in his accounting condemn them. He sat and received what they brought, and the iron boot rested against the gold boot beneath the bench, and the knife in his left hand was very still. Some of them, late at night, did not come at all. The next morning the hero was gone from the well. He had not walked away on either road. He had simply ceased to be at the well. The villagers searched briefly. They did not find him. A child of the village, who had been 12 in the year of the hero's return, walked, that afternoon, out to the shallow grave at the edge of the village. The grave was open. There was nothing in it. There had not perhaps been anything in it for 33 years. She walked back into the village. She did not, that day or any day after, tell anyone what she had seen. She grew up to be, in time, the kind of woman who could bless and cut from the same hand, and who could be loved and feared without preference. She had 2 churches built in the village before she died, a church of the blessing and a church of the cutting, and she insisted in her will that they share a single wall and that the priest of the first be also the priest of the second. This was done. The 2 churches stood with the shared wall for 4 centuries. The village in those centuries was the kind of village in which the duality was not enforced. The villagers worshipped on the same day the God who blesses and the God who cuts, and they understood after the first 100 years that the 2 gods were one. They called him, when they spoke of him in their own homes, by a name that meant the hero who came back as both. The 2 churches are, in some province, still standing. The shared wall is intact. The hero you killed comes back as both. He wears 1 boot of gold and 1 boot of iron. His right hand blesses, his left hand cuts. The God you were waiting for was the same God you were running from. The 2 were one all along. You cannot have the blessing without the cutting. They are the same hand of the same God on the same road. The road is real. Walk it in both boots.